Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's the first day of February, and I want to welcome you to another amazing episode of the Diamond Factor Experience Show. My name is Iqbal Acha. I'm a career consultant, leadership coach, and a personal branding expert. And I'm also one of the experts that are here on Barbara Beckley's show. I really just want to wish you all a wonderful Monday. Want to hope that you guys had a fantastic weekend. And like Barbara, I'm going to take a page from her book, and I'm going to start off our episode today with a quote. Most of you know that there's a Monday Motivation Monday is a standard theme for most people. And I know that Barbara has a different phrase for it, but I typically use a quote for my week just to kind of get myself primed and started. So let me share with you a quote that's really been resonating with me over the weekend, and really wanted to share that with you because it's going to delve right into the topic of leadership that we have been addressing for the last few weeks, and we're going to go deeper into that session. But for those of you that are familiar with the Dalai Lama, here's a quote that I read on Friday night, and it's just stuck with me for the last 2 days. When you speak, you repeat what you know, but when you listen, you'll learn something new. I want to repeat that again. When you speak, you'll repeat what you know, but when you listen, you'll learn something new. And that's the Dalai Lama. And the reason why this is resonating with me today is because a couple of weeks ago, many of you have probably saw this on the news. There's a lot of things that have been happening in the news for the last couple of weeks, right? So this may have kind of slipped under your radar, but we actually lost a pretty legendary icon who built a legacy around communication and connection through the art of active listening. For those of you that remember, there was a really famous television show and radio show host by the name of Larry King. And Larry King died on January 23rd as a result of complications from COVID-19. Now, Larry King had a 50-plus year history and a career of hosting interviews, interviewing celebrities, actors, politicians, corporate leaders. He's interviewed over 50,000 people. And if you've ever watched a single one of his interviews, you would see how he conducted himself in a professional manner by asking questions, listening to the responses, and building on those responses in a way that demonstrated both empathy, respect, and understanding. And a quote that Larry King left the world with that I want to also share with you today is I remind myself every morning, nothing that I say is going to teach me anything. So if I am going to learn, it's got to be through listening. Now, when we think about leadership, and whether, again, you are leading a small community, whether you're leading a corporation or just a small but important circle of people, the world today is bombarding us with ideas, with issues, and with individuals that have competing deadlines and pressing demands. Now, if you're a leader, you should know that there have been actually multiple surveys that have been conducted over the last few months and few years, especially in light of the pandemic. And some of the revelations in these surveys remind us of why active listening is so critical in how we engage our employees, our associates, our peers, our leaders, as well as our customers and clients. A recent poll of U.S. workers revealed that 91% of employees identified communication issues as a pain point with their bosses. So if you're a leader today, 9 out of 10 of your employees have said at some point in time that they're having a real difficult time communicating with you. 52% of those respondents said that not having time to meet with employees was another interference issue in terms of leadership. Now, as I mentioned before, today we are all bombarded with a variety of issues, ideas, individuals. Today, money and manpower are not the primary concern when it comes to lack of resources, but rather time and attention. Time and attention is the two most important aspects of resources that we need to be able to grow, to cultivate, and to share. And so today, in today's episode, we are going to address active listening. And we're going to talk about 4 things in this episode. Number 1, what is active listening? Number 2, why is it so important? Number 3, what are the 3 A's that comprise active listening? And number 4, how do we practice it and how do we apply it in the real world? For those of you that are just joining, good morning. My name is Iqbal Acha. I am a career consultant, a leadership coach, and a personal branding expert. And for the past 20 years, I've been helping Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations attract new audiences, hire talented people, and develop a new generation of leaders. Today, I help students, professionals, managers, and executives advance their career, build a better brand, and create a leadership legacy. And today's topic again is active listening. So what is active listening? Well, it's a term that was coined in 1957 by two psychologists, Carl Rogers and Richard Farson. And they came up with the conclusion through their research that active listening is really a conscious decision to listen carefully and understand what people are trying to convey without being judgmental. I'm going to repeat that again because I love that definition, right? It's a conscious decision to listen carefully and understand what people are trying to convey without being judgmental. Now, this is a soft skill, right? But think about how important that is. If you have ever had a situation in your life where you've been speaking with your leader, or you've been speaking with your spouse, or with your children, or even with a friend, and you are frustrated, you are upset, or you have a phenomenal idea that you want to communicate the value to, and you begin speaking, and the person that's listening on the other side of the desk, on the other phone, is definitely not in tune or connected with you. That failure of active listening erodes a relationship. It breaks down the value of what you're trying to share. Remember, the goal of active listening is to acquire information. If you are a participant in a conversation, and especially as a leader, if you are trying to help your team, your department, your associates, your family members, you're trying to help develop them, to elevate them, to make them shine in the light that they already have. You need to be able to gain context through the content that they're sharing with you. Listening to people, understanding their situations, recognizing that you don't have all the pieces of this puzzle, but when they are engaging with you in conversation, they are providing that. It's up to you to pick up those pieces. And so active listening is the conscious decision to fully listen, to listen carefully and fully understand what people are trying to convey without being judgmental. For those of you that have just heard that, you're probably asking yourself, do I do that? Am I able to properly listen without interrupting, without already formulating what my response is going to be? Or, hey, I know exactly what you're talking about, so here's a solution. That's not active listening. Active listening is having a blank slate in your head and going, I don't know anything about this, so educate me, fill me in. Why is it so important? Well, as I said before, if you're a leader, whether you're leading a company, a community, or a cadre or a circle of very important people, the necessity of active listening is a dynamic that cannot be replicated, and it's also a factor that cannot be underestimated. So what does active listening bring to you as a leader, and what does it do for you and the teams and the people that you engage with? Number one, it builds trust. You have to have a space that you can create for people to come to you repeatedly, consecutively, concisely. They bring their value to you because they know that you are somebody that values their time, their insights, their input, and you give guidance based on the context and the content. That is a circle of trust that is repeatedly built over and over again. We talk about, comments, right? Whenever you see a Yelp review or a Google review, or if you're an owner of a business, you recognize that it takes 9 times, 9 instances, 9 touches, 9 interactions for a person, 9 good interactions, I should say, to be able to capture one positive compliment. But it only takes one bad situation for that individual to share that with the world. And so think of it this way: as an active listener, you are cultivating creating an environment of trust. Number 2, it increases productivity. By actively listening, you're not only gaining the information, the pain points, the challenges, the obstacles, the hindrances that maybe your associate is coming to you with for guidance and support, but you're also being able to provide specific instructions, specific value, and concise information to them so that they can take it and apply it to their situation and move forward faster. So if you're developing a team, if you're leading an organization and you're trying to help your members become more productive, this is a valuable way to do that, actively listening. Number 3, it resolves conflict. I can tell you that as a manager of 9 different recruiters and also being a director of over 60 talent acquisition specialists, there's going to be challenges between you and them, between them and certain situations. And everyone has a different viewpoint. Everyone is impacted differently with the words. And sometimes those words, sometimes those situations, sometimes those contexts can create strife. It can create a challenging environment. And there is a necessity for them to have an outlet, particularly with you, whether you are the decision maker in that situation or you are somebody that can add value. And so being an active listener allows you to de-escalate situations. It allows you to create an outlet of stress so that they can release some pressure. In the process, you're able to better help filter through the fog that they may be experiencing and give them guidance that's specific to them and help them recognize that their involvement, their participation in the department, in the company, in the family is so valuable. How do we remove these obstacles and hindrances, and how do we drive you forward? Resolving conflict is another element of active listening. Number 4, it fosters stronger relationships. Have you ever had a moment when you have just needed to speak to somebody? My wife is my rock. I've mentioned this all the time whenever I talk about, hey, who do I turn to for guidance and acceptance and just be an outlet? My wife is phenomenal when it comes to being able to be an outlet for me. So whenever I'm frustrated or whenever I'm happy or I have ideas, I go to her and I start sharing with her, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's what it looks like. And she is such a great active listener that she will pause, she will listen, she'll take notes, she'll ask me some questions. And that just makes me love her even more. It's some of the things that when we think about the people that we admire, the people that we love, the people that we turn to the most, it's because that they've been able to provide for us an opportunity to share ourselves, really share ourselves, and have them validate where we are today. And that just makes us want to be with them more or turn to them more or trust them more and love them more. So fostering strong relationships is another value add of being an active listener. Number 5, it develops discipline. Now, this is something that I think most of us recognize, that when we ourselves are working on self-improvement processes, we think about, hey, how can I be better? Well, think of it this way. If you are struggling with active listening, if you've never done it before, or you've done it and you're just sort of so-so on it, try listening for 5 minutes without any thoughts. Put yourself in a situation where you can ask an employee, a family member, a corporate, an employee, or just even a peer, and says, hey, listen, I just want to know what's going on. And listen to them for 5 minutes without thinking a thought. If you could do 5 minutes, then increase it to 10. If you could do 10, increase it to 30. If you could do 30, do it 60. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese monk. He's a Buddhist monk from Vietnam. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. And I love him because when he thinks and he talks about anger and anger management, he has reminded me over and over again through his books and his sayings about how we are expected to be able to build relationships with people, and yet we cannot even sit in the same room with somebody for 60 minutes and listen to an opposing viewpoint, an opposing thought, an opposing idea that challenges our beliefs, because we're so quick to respond. And again, if you can learn how to master active listening, you will develop a discipline in your own leadership style and leadership skill set that can add value to others. And finally, number 6, the value of why active listening is so important. You gain acceptance. People will accept you, they trust you, they respect you because they know that you are somebody that is actually caring about them and their worth. So those are the 6 values of why active listening can play such a role, such a strong and important role in being a leader. Now, there's three specific A's that I'm going to talk about in active listening, right? We've talked about what it is. We talked about the value that it brings. Let's talk about the actual practice of active listening, right? So we know what we need to do. The question is, how do we do it? Because active listening sounds great in theory, but being able to recognize what it is from a structure, from a process-oriented manner, we have to be able to recognize three major aspects of active listening. So when we're in the midst of it, when we're in the heart and soul of the situation, we know that, hey, in order to be able to practice active listening, I have to make sure that I have three components ready to go. Number one, the right attitude. It's the first A of active listening. You need to be in the mindset, a proper attitude of active listening. So what does that look like? Number one, be respectful towards what others say about a fact, about a state of emotion or a state of being. You just need to be respectful. You don't have to agree. You don't have to disagree. When you respect somebody else's viewpoint, even simply by listening to them speak and convey that information, we tend to look beyond our own preconceived notions and we actually become better listeners. So number one, having the right attitude is part and parcel of being an active listener. Number two, giving 100% of your attention. Number two, attention. In a world that we are bombarded with, like I know right now, I put my phone on silent, right? I don't want to hear any beeps, any words, any dings, anything from any of my social media platforms, new emails. Like this thing is going off 24/7 all the time. Even though I have it set off at 10 o'clock at night and resume at 6 o'clock, it's always bing, 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 bing. I get a phone call, I get a text, I get a social media icon pop up. And if it's not that, it's my laptop. My laptop is notifying me that things are coming up. I get little banners. Or if it's not that, I'm having clients that are reaching out to me, or I'm thinking about somebody else. Stop, Iqbal, just stop. You have someone in front of you. This person has come to you and has actually requested the time and the attention that they richly deserve. So what should you do? Number one, the difference is stop multitasking. Literally, shut off your phone, close your laptop, push your computer to the side, create an empty space between you and the next person. Again, I know we're working in a pandemic, right? So if that means if you're not in an office, if you're not in a real world situation, you need to make sure you close all of your tabs on your windows. You need to close every single window. You need to close every single software program or app that's on your laptop, and you just give them 100% of your attention. You'll notice the difference. When you're not seeing something on Facebook pop up, when you're not seeing anything show up on your computer, you know that you're able to give 100% of your attention to the person you're speaking with. It makes a huge, huge difference. So number one, the first A of active listening is attitude. Put yourself in the right mindset. Listen without judgment. Respond and be respectful to that person's fact or state of being or state of emotion. Number two, give 100% of your attention. Monotask, don't multitask. And number three, adjust, right? When you receive the information, keep an open mind. Either follow where the speaker is trying to lead you, or if that's difficult to do, remind yourself or force yourself to hold no meaning. In other words, if they tell you something that's contrary to what you're already thinking, just stop yourself from doing that. And if you're not resistant to the idea, go where they're leading you. They may be able to describe for you a situation, a story, or a circumstance that you can learn from without stopping yourself. So adjust. Adjustment is critical. So the three A's of active listening, we've talked about attitude, we've talked about attention, and we've talked about adjustment. Now, great, Iqbal, that's fantastic. How do we actually practice this in a real world setting? So we're going to talk about nonverbal ways of showing active listening, and we're going to talk about verbal ways of showing active listening. Let's talk about the nonverbal ways first, right? So you're in a room or you're in a meeting online through Zoom or through StreamYard or WebEx, and you're listening to this person who's talking. Let's talk about the 5 nonverbal ways that you can show that individual that, hey, I am 100% focused in on what you're saying, and I'm 100% listening to what you're saying. Number one, face the speaker. look through the camera lens, or if it's in real life, look at them. Turn your body towards them. Do not do one of these side angles. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. No, literally chest facing chest. That is the best way to let them know that 100% of your attention is being given to them. Number two, make eye contact. Make eye contact. You want to make sure that when they are speaking, you're not looking down, you're not examining their clothes. Usually I have a pocket square. You're not critiquing their clothes or, hey, did you shave this morning or anything of that nature. You're simply looking at them, pouring your attention into their pupils so that they know that, hey, I'm actually making a physical connection, even though it may be, virtual or not. Number three, lean forward. I think it's very important that, when you, at some point in a conversation, when you find yourself really in tune to what they're communicating, like you lean in, like that actually non-verbally signals to the recipient that, wow, this person is really engaged in my thought and in my thought processes. Number four, nod in agreement. Now, I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this. All of these are different nonverbal cues, but they are not one successively building on top of the other. You should not start off with just by like leaning, facing them forward and then making eye contact and leaning in and then nodding the whole time, right? These are like different nonverbal cues that you do throughout the conversation. Sometimes you will like make eye contact, and other times you will probably have to just like kind of take a break and think about that for a second, right? So these are different things. So we've talked about like four things as well. I also want to make one more note. So if you're nodding in agreement at some point throughout this conversation, it signals to the person that, hey, what I just said resonated with the recipient. That means great acknowledgement. Finally, there will be times that in the middle of this conversation, you can take notes. Like, would you mind if I take notes throughout this conversation? Because it allows and signals to the person that's speaking that what I just said was important to that person as much as it was to me. Those are nonverbal cues, right? So we're going to say them again. You're going to face the speaker, chest facing chest. Number two, make eye contact. Number three, you want to make sure that you lean forward sometimes to be able to give that person the signal that, hey, what you're saying is very interesting. Number four, nod in agreement. And number five, take notes. Those are the nonverbal ways that you can practice active listening. What about verbal ways? Well, there's a few things that you can say throughout a conversation to validate and to establish rapport. So let's talk about that. When you are looking to establish rapport with someone who is coming to you because they have a problem, an issue, a concern, start off by saying something like, well, yeah, of course, I would be happy to hear you. Tell me what I can do to help, right? You are signaling through those words, I am here to listen to you and I'm here to help you. Tell me what I can do to help. They may simply say, I just need you to listen. There's a really great video on YouTube. It's called It's Not About the Nail. Listen to that. Watch that. If you just have a moment or so, Google that, go to that. It's not about the nail. It is hilarious, but it's also about communication and the way that we communicate active listening processes. So establish rapport, say something like, tell me what I can do to help, or I'm here for you. Is there something specific I can do? Number two, demonstrate concern, right? The words that you use need to make sure that they recognize that you can put yourself in their shoes and that you feel, if not everything, something that what they're feeling. So you can say something like, hey, I know you're going through a rough time right now. That demonstrates concern. It tells them that I know that there's a situation right now or a crisis that you're going through. It has to be emotionally draining. It has to be difficult for you. I know you're going through a tough time right now. Number three, paraphrase. When you're actively listening throughout this conversation, there will be moments where you want to pause and you want to wait for a pause in that person's conversation to say, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you think that we need to invest more in this area. Or if I'm hearing you correctly, Cindy came in and just really took over the meeting without asking you for your permission. That's a great way to be able to rephrase, paraphrase what this person is saying and validate some of their concerns and validate some of their emotions. Number four, giving some brief verbal affirmations or validations are critical. Throughout the conversation, you can say some things like, I see, I understand, got it. Like those are simple phrases that will help them know that, yep, you are connected to this you're connected to the speaker, you're connected to your employee. They're coming to you with a problem and you're saying, I'm hearing different parts of it. Ask open-ended questions, right? This is something that's very interesting because if you're going to ask an open-ended question, you also know and should recognize that the responses are going to create more of an opportunity for them to give more content and more context, which is critical. So you can ask questions like, so what aspect of his critique was disturbing? Right? It's not a yes and no. It's not a simple word answer. Open-ended questions allow the person that's speaking to go deeper, provide more richer words and provide more richer context. You can also ask some specific questions that are pertinent to the situation. So you can say, so like, what is your average profit margin? Or, how many people did you terminate last quarter? Or, how many projects are you working on today? While those are closed-ended questions, you're going to get some specific answers, and that will also create some parameters and boundaries that will allow him or her to be able to recognize this is the most that I can work with, and this is where I need to be able to focus more. And finally, if you have a similar situation that you've gone through, you can disclose that at some point in this conversation. So you can say something like, hey, I can understand what you're going through. I mean, I had a similar situation where I had the responsibility of terminating half of my staff over 2 years. It doesn't get easier, and it never will, but it is something that we both have had to do. Now, you're showing that you recognize not necessarily that specific instance of the emotional trauma or the concerns that this person has, but it's pretty similar. And so, if nothing else, they can recognize that the person they're speaking to has walked a mile in their shoes previously, and that will help them feel more at ease with you. We've talked a lot about active listening, right? We've talked about what it is. We've talked about why it's important. We've talked about the 3 A's of active listening, and we talked about different techniques, both verbal and nonverbal, for you to be able to practice active listening and help you become a better leader, and also to help you and your staff, your employees, your community members, or your circle of trust just make a better connection with you. As always, I hope you find these ideas and insights to be helpful to you in your professional and your personal journey. And if you'd love to learn more, if you have any questions, connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll find me on Twitter. Anyway, and I also have a website that's coming up, which is achainternational.com. So feel free to reach out and let me know how I can be of service to you. Until then, I'm Iqbal Acha, your career consultant, leadership coach, and personal branding expert. And as always, I remind you to be polite, be professional, and be persistent. Thanks, and have a great day.
Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running. 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the
Hello, everybody, and welcome to February 2021. I told myself, I said, you know what, today I want to be flowery today, because after the weekend that I had dealing with over 14 inches, yes, even my glasses are crooked because of it, 14 inches of snow. Whew. And it's funny because I posted it on Facebook and I took pictures and I was like, look at this, we're at 12 inches. At that time, it was at 12. I think, you know what, now I think about it, it's more than 14. Because by the time I got out there to just attempt, I said, okay, I need to go out there and shovel the snow. I said, I really don't want to shovel the snow. I mean, I was really pushing myself over and over again to say, I do not want to shovel this snow. But then I said, okay, it's not going to get shoveled by itself, and just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I said, you know what? I think I need to go shovel snow. But then it's funny because now I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh, this snow. It took me 3 hours, literally almost 3 hours to shovel the snow. Just a little path behind where my townhouse lives. And, you know, when I posted the pictures and everybody's coming, oh my God, look at that. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, it's so white and pretty. And it's so nice. And you can make a snowman and you can do, you know, snow angels. And you know how you when you're little, some people still do it now where they do the, you know, moving, they make an angel in the snow and everything. So they're telling me all this stuff. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what? Everything you're saying is kind of cool, but I still got to go out there and shovel almost 20 inches of snow. And it's not like I'm young anymore. I mean, I'm a young, over 50 young, but I'm not like 20, 30 young, where it's like you could just, you know, just whoop, 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 and you're done. So I'm like, But then I said, okay, what do I always say? Flip it. So I flipped it, and I told myself, I said, self, what do you always tell everybody else? look at it in the positive. So I said, okay, when I go out there, first of all, take my time shoveling. It's not like I had to go anywhere else. Second of all, look at the fact that it's helping moving your body. You've been in the house, you've been on the computer, you've been walking around a little here and there, but now you get a chance to move your body, get some exercise going, get the blood flowing and all that. So then I thought of it all like that and I said, okay, let's just tackle the snow. And you know what? Afterwards, I kind of appreciated it. Plus, I seen the neighbor, doing their part too. And I said, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Because I thought I was like the last of the Mohicans shoveling my snow. Because usually I'm always the last one to wait to do it. But I was like, oh, I got somebody else that's doing it. So, yes, yes, yes. So, just a little um, information about how my weekend went. But besides the snow, I did get a chance to get a lot of things accomplished that I really wanted to, due to the fact that I was in the house and I wasn't really going anywhere. But when you think about it, even if it wasn't snowing, I'm not going too much anywhere because of the pandemic. So, either way, I had that time. So saying all that, I love what Iqbal was talking about. I'm always putting this in some of my presentations that I talk about is talks about active listening. It is so important to active listen. Now I got a quote. I always got my little quotes here. So when he was talking earlier, I was like, what's one of my famous quotes about listening and communication? So this is what I want to leave with you this whole week. Think about it. The biggest communication problem is the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. So, how many of you, I will say show of hands like I can see your hands, but I don't put my hand up because I'm a part of this. How many of you ever listened to a person talk and you were kind of just waiting for them? And just be honest with yourself. You were just waiting for them to be quiet so you can say what you had to say that's in your brain at that time. I mean, you had all these little thoughts, you had like ideas, stuff. You said, okay, when they get done talking, okay, they're almost done. I know they're almost there. And then as soon as they get done talking, I gotta say what I gotta say because it's really in me. It's just pumping in me and it's in my head. So when they get done talking, so you saying all that in your brain, in your head, when they get done talking, I want to say this, and you didn't listen to a word probably what they said. You couldn't even paraphrase it, give them one little inkling of what they said, see a feeling in there somewhere, what they had feelings about, maybe some eye contact that you missed, that maybe some body language they gave you. You missed all that because you were so busy saying, oh, I just gotta talk to, I gotta tell them, I got this idea, I wish they'll be quiet. It's to the point where you're getting upset in your mind telling them, I wish they would be quiet so you can say what you have to say. That's not good. That's like the opposite of active listening. Active listening is listening, paying attention. All the aspects that Iqbal gave this morning, that is so something that just ingrained in you. It's really important because nowadays, especially now, a lot of individuals now need to know that there's somebody there that they can talk to, really listen to, because what is going on in the world right now? Now, it's not like we didn't need active listening before the pandemic and stuff. I'm not saying that. There should always be active listening in your lives when you're talking to somebody. But really, I've been listening to the news lately, and they said there is an increase of people that are having mental health issues because of the pandemic, because they've been home alone or they with somebody in the house where technically, and this is the sad part, where a lot of people, if they were being abused, their abusers are in the house with them and they're all together. That's a dangerous situation. And I hope, please reach out, or a family member or something. I'm just going to put that out there as a disclaimer to help people that are dealing with that. And then some people have different personalities where they like the hugs and they like the, being around people, which we all kind of do at a certain time. But some people like it more than others, and they are not handling it well, being at home, staying at home, having just to go to certain places. Even a person that might not like the hugs and all that kind of stuff, but just getting out the house to get some air, that's just oh my God, this is awesome. I want to do this. But sometimes you can't because of what's going on. So you want to make sure that over Zoom, StreamYard, any kind of technology system that you can help someone if they need to talk, if they need to hear you say, you know what, I'm here for you. I want to listen to what you have to say. It's not about me right now. I always tell people it's not about you right now. It's about them. So they need for you to listen to them and not just act like, yeah, I'm just waiting to say something. No, you need to be there. Like I said, lean in. So you know what, I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. You said, and rephrase some things. Then they know that you care. See, all that comes out there. So I don't want to revamp because Nick Wall gave a lot of good information. And I just wanted to kind of sum it up because that's one of my things that I love to talk about as well. So me and him are on the same wavelength. We're on the same wavelength on a lot of things when we talk about presentations, but that is that's one of my babies, is making sure that, active listening is the key. Now, I just want to leave something else for everyone too. Now, I just posted a video, two videos. There's one video, it's called Help Heal Humanity. And I mentioned last week on the show that I'm kind of their general sponsor. Well, I'm sponsoring them through the Diamond Factor Experience with Barbara Beckley show. So you'll be seeing a lot of different videos. Probably be bringing in some individuals that's talking about the charity, maybe even some children that's a part of it that basically got help from that charity because of they're homeless or they, needed attention education wise or what have you. I really am shining the spotlight on this charity because I truly believe in it so much. I met the CEO, Serena and Patricia, and they are just gems. Those two ladies, they are just unstoppable. I am just so proud just to be in their presence when we talk. And not only that, I'm making them, like I said, my permanent charity, one of my permanent charities that I sponsor and that I want people to really hone into, but a part of another platform I'm on, proud to be on, Celebrate You, Embrace It Well, Embracing You with Women, is that I'm a co-founder there, and we are having a special gala happening this Saturday. I can't believe it's here already. It's going to be February 6th from 5 to 7 Eastern Time, virtual. And we are honoring 9 wonderful, amazing, spectacular women that did a lot in 2020. So every month, what we did is we would basically raise high a woman that we seen that was doing some phenomenal things in what they do, not just within themselves, but helping others, being part of the Celebrate You platform. And we did it from April to December because we started within the pandemic and we said, we need to honor some of these ladies. We need to honor some of these ladies. So we all got together as co-founders and the visionary, Miss LaWanna Bradford, and we decided every month we wanted to pick just a wonderful lady that's doing things and give her visibility and lift her up and celebrate her. So with that, it created 9 women for 2020. And then we said, you know how we get the thinking caps again. And this was LaWanna's uh, birth birthing too, where she decided, you know what, maybe we had all these women every month. Why don't we do a Woman of the Year award for 2020 and then do like a gala and just do everything online because, it would be nice just to really just, again, honor each one of them and then pick the one that, would be the Woman of the Year. Awesome. It's just like brilliance. So with that, we decided to do that, and now it's here. It's coming this Saturday that we're having this gala. Now, the nice thing about it is that it only costs $10 to get into the Zoom door, the virtual Zoom door, and all the proceeds, all the money that's being paid towards this particular gala is going to help Heal Humanity charity. So we're not taking none of the money. Basically, we just wanted to make sure, first of all, to honor these women that they do every day. I call them queens. And then from that point on, pick a charity that's doing so much within the world. Within the world. I mean, you think about it, $10. $10 but it can do so much for a child out there that needs caring, that needs to know where their next meal is coming from. Some of the children out there in the different countries, and even in the United States, trying to figure out where next meal is coming from. $10 can do so much. So that's why we're asking, and I want to put it up here real quick. I had it queued, but didn't do it right. But I want to put up, this is what happens. Here we go. So I want to put up this statistic. It's still not too late. We still have some spacing available to come to the gala. It's $10 per ticket. If you cannot show up, which we would love for you to show up and just honor these ladies and be a part of this, you could still buy a ticket and it will still go to the charity. Or you can even gift the ticket. Like if you know somebody that want to come to the gala and you can't make it, buy the ticket, gift it to somebody. You're gifting it to somebody and hopefully that they'll enjoy the gala. And then you also giving money towards a good cause, a good charity at the same time. And that's what we like to do, right? We love to collaborate. We love to help each other. We love to be there for each other. So with that, I just want to wish everybody a wonderful rest of the day, because I'm going to be coming on Wednesday and Friday, so I don't want to say weekend or anything until this coming Friday. That'd be too soon. But just remember that again. I'm going to say the quote because it's so important. Like I said, to be active listening. Active listening. The biggest communication problem is when we do not listen to understand, but we listen to reply. Start listening to understand a person. Start listening to see where they're having maybe struggles or challenges in their life, because we all are. I look, people be like, well, Barbara, you always, you seem like you're happy. I said, sometimes I need somebody to listen to me too. Sometimes I have to, pour out some things to get some things. And sometimes when a person hears themselves, I know this happens to me all the time, that all of a sudden I start figuring out some things that I didn't even realize until I kind of, talked it out. I talked it out. So it helps. It really helps. It helps to heal. It helps to get clarity. It helps to make decisions. It's just a whole thing that when you actively listen, it helps somebody else in their life. So I want to leave you by saying, remember, now I want to bring it up because I always do, your PPD, your purpose, your passion, and your drive. Remember that it's in here. Your talents, your gifts, your peace, everything. That's your foundation to move you and propel you to move forward in what you do, what your genius is. Because we need that. People around here need your genius to move forward in their lives too. And that's how we all help each other grow, is because each and every person that has a genius in them helps another person in life to move to the next level. And that's what it's all about. So I will see you all. Yes. I will see you all Wednesday. We're going to have Mr. Barry Mixon come back with his expertise. And then from there, we're going to have a special guest, as I always bring them. I never tell you the name because then you'll be like, you might not come. So I did it on purpose. So with that said, please remember you have a diamond factor in you, and just let it shine, not only for yourself, but also let it shine for others in the world. Take care.